Hey, it's Greg Gillismith, and it's the end of April or beginning of May, and I'm out here at the construction site. Most of the snow has melted off. We got about a foot a week ago, and it is gone quickly with it being like 60 degrees out here. So, I just thought I'd take a brief moment and go over a few things. One is some people have been asking me for kind of a review of the status of the container, so I was going to do that. And then also answer some questions about is building with a container a cost-effective solution? So if we just focus on cost, there's a couple things that we need to kind of keep in mind when you're trying to make something cost-effective. And that is work with the assets and not against the liabilities. And what I mean is you've got a container. And so what are the assets of a container? It's strong, and it itself is cost effective. So this is a 40-foot container, cost me under $3,000 with tax and delivery. And so I cut it in half, turned it into 220s, et cetera, et cetera. But for $3,000, I can't even buy one load of wood at Home Depot. But that, covers 320 square feet of construction, very structurally, right? And so as long as we work within the asset of the container being a strong structure, then that becomes cost effective. Now, what I see a lot online are people taking these containers and cutting the entire wall away. Well, that's great. You're using part of the container to do something, but you've eliminated the structural nature of the container. I'm out here competing with the chickadees. It's really funny. They're all singing their songs. We've been singing together for the last hour or so. If you want to be cost effective, you want to leave these things be structural. And so on this side, did I leave it structural by cutting these windows and doors in here? Yeah, I sure did. I even put this into a finite element analysis and looked at what were the effects of removing just these local locations. Almost no change in the structural nature of this thing. So that was great. And then leaving the top in them for the most part. So that stayed structural. The floor stayed the way it was. So that really did become a cost-effective solution. The other thing is, yes, they're fireproof, but they're small. And so if you look at those two things together, where do you put your insulation? Where do you put your siding? You'll notice I am putting another whole layer of metal siding on the outside of a metal container. Why would I possibly do that? Well, one of the things I was trying to eliminate in the cost of doing this construction was eliminating all the welding. And so most of the container projects that I see out there, what they've done is they weld all of their doors and windows into a location, and the weld has to be waterproof. I don't have to do that. I basically just put some angle iron and framed those doors and windows in almost traditionally. I used regular vinyl windows. I just screwed those right into traditional 2x6s that I bolted into angle iron in the container. So no welding necessary. Again, keeping the cost way down. You can see where I am up here. This is not where you have lots of welders just available. So I wanted to eliminate that part of the fabrication. And up above, that's all just traditional framing. So, the problems with a metal container is it's cold, right? There's no insulation there. So by putting 1 inch of insulation on the inside and 2 inches on the outside, I kept the container as large as I could on the inside and didn't worry about too much on the outside. By staying at 2 inches and under on the outside, though, I was able to use traditional screws. I needed metal self-drilling screws, and really the longest they come is about 3 inches. So by going with 2 inches of insulation, my metal siding, the little nailer strips and those kind of things, I was able to stay with regular screws that I could buy like at Home Depot. So, well, let me take you inside and show you some other things and point out some of the features. So on the inside, yeah, this is going to look like a construction site. Sorry, I didn't spend a lot of time cleaning up. I am the one-man crew here of construction and filming and cleaning. So this is the kitchen, right? This was done down in Southern California, including the dishwasher, sink, faucet, garbage disposal, trash, microwave, all that kind of good stuff. And then back here behind the barn door is the toilet and the shower. Right, so that's back in here. Again, using metal siding. This was just some siding from Lowe's, and put those in with some stainless steel fasteners and then the sealing washers, right? So that became very cost effective in there. This is just regular like 4x8 wood panels. I don't even know what they call this stuff. It's just maple or birch or something. I put a light stain on it, and that stayed real cost effective. These little LED can lights, that's how thick they are. They're literally a 1/4 inch thick, and they go up with 2 screws and a couple wires. And so those are going to give a lot of light in here as soon as I have electricity. And they don't really cost that much. You get them in a pack of like 10 or something. You'll notice the screws in the ceiling, those are going up and attaching to my floor joists up above so that I can again use the strength of this metal as the bottom membrane of an I-beam. So instead of making a whole floor joist up there that would normally be 8 or 10 inches thick, it's only a 2x4. And I can get away with that when I put this bottom part into tension. And then the 2x4 is merely the spacer of the I-beam, and then plywood becoming the upper face of that I-beam and putting that into compression. So barn door in here, just painted the ceiling. No insulation on this side because the attic is going to be about the same temperature. I will put some R13 in the attic for mostly noise and a little bit of thermal loss that when you've heated this area down in here, that it doesn't all escape up there. I mean, I do have a big hole here, so the heat will eventually go up there. All right, so these are 2 containers that are bolted together. You can see the bolts up in here. There's 3 down at this end, and there's 2 down there in the bathroom, bolting it all together. So this I was able to just leave the container wall and paint it. Again, cost effectiveness is that I already had a wall, and here you can kind of see some of my construction is that this is just 2x4s, and then they've been bolted in to the containers. This framing came as part of the other container, and now just needs to be joined up to it. There you can see some of the other bolts. So this is the bedroom, also known as the storage room. This is some leftover insulation that I probably won't be using on this build. There's my plywood for the flooring upstairs, and that's Baltic birch, 1/2 inch, really strong. And then here's window, and you can see a little bit of the window construction here. This is just vinyl nailing fin, and so regular windows, no welding in here at all, but that did mean I was not waterproof until I put my Tyvek on the outside, so that was a bit of a pain. All right, and this is just some paneling from Home Depot. You can see some of my foil-backed insulation back in there that's wrapping around this corner, and then inside this wall, again, is the 1 inch of this GPS or graphite-filled polystyrene, and then 2 inches on the outside. And then this wall was the traditionally framed wall where it was cut in half. So, all right, well, let me take you upstairs. So you can see the cross section of a container and the corrugations in here. The ceiling of these, or the roof, is not very stiff on its own. It has these corrugations, but when they stack these on the shipping containers, they only contact on the corners, so there really is no contact on these surfaces. It's really just to keep the weather off of them, or if people are walking on them or something. It doesn't have to hold up much. You can see in here, though, traditional framing. So we've got 4x6s and our 2x12s. Something else a little unique is, you need to allow for condensation and the moist air that might be on the inside of all of this surface to travel up from the vents down here in the bottom and travel all the way up and vent out through the notches up there. And I just used some leftover insulation to create those pockets. So now when I put my R30 in here, there'll be a little space right up against the plywood for that moist air to travel up. Obviously, I'm not finished in this area, and those will go on up and vent out there through the ridge. So that's kind of the status of things. This is going to get a wall here, a little bit of a closet built into this cubby, and a little bit of a bookshelf built into this cubby. There'll be a desk space over here, and this will be walled off. So it looked like a nice little desk that you can sit in here and turn left and talk with the chickadees out there. So that is the current status. This will be getting insulation, wiring, fire sprinklers, let's see, insulation, paneling. So there's quite a bit more work to be done up here, but I'm planning on doing this while I'm living in it downstairs. Makes it real easy on the commute during the summer to be able to come up and do that. So all this plywood will be going across this wall to act as a shear wall, at least from that hole down to that hole down. These end parts are not shear walls. All right, that is it from the top of the container. You can see here. They're doing a lot of tree work next door and bulldozers, so things are a little noisier than usual out there.